Hi friends and family from the Playful Child Initiative. My name is Sonya Jensen. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in Georgetown, Texas. I specialize in high conflict couples work as well as family work, utilizing the Gottman Sound Relationship House method. I'm also a certified Gottman therapist. So I want to give you some tools and tips for navigating these really interesting and complex times that we're in. I know all of us are stuck at home. We are trying to work from home. We're trying to maintain a level of sanity. We also maybe have our kids with us and we're trying to navigate homeschooling. So if you're anything like me and my family, the stress level is pretty high right now. And I'll tell you, anybody that tries to tell you it isn't is probably lying or in denial. I mean, I think all of us are feeling the strain and the pressure of these times. And so I think the most important thing that I've worked on with my family and with my clients is developing a really good structure. It might be kind of hard to do that, but enforcing a structure helps reduce anxiety for you, for your partner, for your children, because we know what to expect. In John Gottman's work, one of the most basic and foundational principles that we teach is what's called rituals of connection. And rituals of connection are things that we do throughout the day on a consistent basis that prioritize our partner and our children. Some of the most basic ways that we ritualistically connect is through having meals together. Also, the way in which we say hello and goodbye, how we maneuver around the day, how we check in with each other and navigate the stressors together through practicing empathy. But the main key point is consistency. When I know I can depend on my partner, I feel much more at peace. I feel much more connected, and our friendship grows, right? This is an opportunity where we really do have a chance to make things right again. Oftentimes life has gotten so busy that we have under prioritized our partner and quality time with our family. So this is an opportunity to really re-engage with that. And so an ideal structure would be that you have consistent bedtime and wake up time. And that's kind of hard to do when you don't have a schedule or a job that you have to go to, but your brain will connect with that structure, and oftentimes we see better sleep and then again, of course, better mental health. So consistent bedtime and wake up time. And what's the routine around that? What's the routine around bedtime? Right? How do we prepare our minds and our bodies for rest? And then also when we wake up, what do we want the first part of the day to look like? Is that checking in with our partner, hanging out with our kids, having a cup of coffee? Is it journaling? Is it exercising? Right? The way you structure your day reveals your priorities. And so you have a really unique opportunity right now to realign yourself with the things that are most important to you. In the research, what we've seen that helps reconnect couples specifically is how we say hello and goodbye. And while you might be working in the same house, you might be working in separate offices or taking on separate roles. So what is the exchange like as you maneuver into your different roles, right? If both of you are working and one person takes an opportunity to be with the kids and help them with their schoolwork while you're on a business meeting, how are you exchanging then those roles when it's flipped, right? Are you giving each other a rundown of what it's been like, a kiss and a hug, a thank you, right? So I would encourage you to sit down with your partner and make the structure, but also carve out that time where you're showing, hey, just with a quick kiss and a hug in that transition, that I'm thinking about you and we're a team and we've got this. I think what also is really important is ritualistically connecting on the things that we are grateful for or the things that we appreciate about our children and our partner and ourselves. I think it's really important that we incorporate that into family meals or maybe over coffee in the morning. Just finding ways to make sure that we're not only just interacting with each other when we're upset and snippy and stressed out, but that we are making time for good things together to really showcase that we value and appreciate each other. You know, next is thinking about boundaries. A lot of people, we know the word, it's kind of like the hot word of the day, like we got to have boundaries, right? But what is a boundary? And a boundary is, I consider my definition to be between what's okay and what's not okay. There's a lot of times where we don't even know our boundaries have been crossed until they have been crossed. So this is an opportunity to learn a lot about yourself because you're having less distractions and more interactions with family. So you might notice that your boundaries are being crossed really easily and you're hyper tense and focused, right? So let's do some examples about boundaries. Sorry, I'm trying not to sneeze. I might find it to be okay. It's totally okay that my family sleeps in, right? But I'm going to develop a structure around what my morning is going to look like, and it's not going to be okay if one day you decide to come in and interrupt my morning schedule, right? So I would say I would want to go to my partner or my kids, and sometimes this is difficult, especially if you have little ones, but set those expectations, right? Like this morning, like I told you, I'm developing this structure for journaling and exercising, and that's what's going to keep me going throughout the day. So I cannot be interrupted. If you wake up earlier than what you're used to waking up, can you please go take care of the kids and get them breakfast? Oftentimes when our boundaries have been crossed, we quickly react and we yell at each other, and it causes this kind of dysfunctional, critical and defensive type pattern between people, especially even with kids. So your boundaries actually have to be really on point. You have to be really aware of them and communicate them early as possible. And remember, you might have to repeat things lots of times, but the most boundary people are actually the most loving because we know what's okay for us and we know what isn't. And instead of getting frustrated and upset, we try to be very aware of where our boundary systems lie, and to share those and set up expectations that are healthy for our family, with our children and our partner. So boundaries go into emotional expression as well. Like it's absolutely okay that you are frustrated and you're scared and you're anxious, but lashing out and yelling at me when you feel that way is not okay. And I would prefer that you take a minute and calm down, take some time to yourself, and then come back out and talk to me about it, right? That is another example of a boundary. And I'll talk about that in a little bit about what we call meta emotion coaching. Next, I want to remove the shame. There's so many of people on Facebook and Instagram that are trying to portray this picture that they've got this all together, that they're doing all these cool things with their family. They're on top of it when it comes to schoolwork, and they just look like they're managing everything well. And which is wonderful, and if those people are really enjoying this time and thriving through it, that's great, but you don't have to feel ashamed if you're surviving. This is a really difficult time, and sometimes even like myself, I know better and I've lashed out at my kids and I haven't followed through on my structure. I've lost my self-care plan. You're going to not do it perfectly. And that is absolutely okay. I always tell myself, I can try again tomorrow. I can try again tomorrow. Or if 1 hour of the day didn't go well, I can always turn it around. But it's absolutely okay to not do it perfectly. And remember that this is temporary. You're trying to navigate, as well as the rest of the world, something that we've never had to navigate before. And so there's no standard of perfection around how to get it done. Shame tells us that we are fundamentally bad, and guilt tells us we did something bad. The only antidote to shame is vulnerability, right? Vulnerability to let ourselves be human and to not always have it perfect and correct. Vulnerability to share those ups and downs with people that we trust, right? Not everybody deserves to hear your struggles. You have to be really cautious and careful about who you trust enough to share those struggles with. But I want you to take the shame out of this experience. Like, we're all doing the best we can, and sometimes that looks way differently than other people. But if you're home and yourself is stressed out, it's going to have a super huge impact on your ability to navigate through this. So shaming yourself is actually doing you more harm than good. If you were to show yourself some compassion and love, you would better be able to give out that love and compassion to your partner and to your children. So remember, you're gonna mess up. This is gonna be messy, but allow yourself to be human. Allow yourself to have your feelings, allow yourself to struggle, and also allow yourself to be proud of some of the things that you've done as well. Not just focusing on where you haven't done it well, but I always ask myself every day, what am I proud of about what I did today, right? And sometimes that takes a little time to think about, and it can be really small. Like, I'm proud I took a shower today and put on some lip gloss and filmed this video, right? When I wanted to stay in my pajamas. So, it doesn't have to be perfect. The last part of this is the emotion coaching. In John Gottman's work, he coined the term meta-emotion coaching, specifically when his research started out for adolescents, right? And now, if any of you follow John Gottman's work, it's very much a method for couples. But meta-emotions are our feelings about feelings. And many of us, at least in my work, I found that many of us feel like having feelings or expressing feelings or talking about feelings is not helpful. It doesn't change anything. Well, okay, like, I can understand that, but at the same time, is ignoring them helping you either? Is pretending they don't exist? Is putting your head in the sand, is that helpful? And maybe in some temporary way it is, but I think emotional expression helps relieve and reduce tension when it's done with a person that feels safe. I think it reduces depression and stress. And I also think that when you connect it to addictions, and you can see, like, the watching of Netflix is going way up, obviously, and drinking alcohol, the use of drugs, all those things are going up astronomically as people try to navigate these times. But what you'll see is those are all numbing type behaviors. And I think it's really important that we start to acknowledge what our feelings are, because if I can't acknowledge mine, I'm gonna have a really hard time acknowledging my partners. I'm gonna have a hard time acknowledging my kids and teaching them what emotion they're experiencing and healthy ways to navigate around it. So one of the things that I do is meta-emotion coaching. We name or are aware of what the emotion is. Maybe I'm feeling disconnected. Maybe I'm feeling grief. Maybe I'm feeling peace. I've had a lot of clients who have been running ragged over the last several months, and coronavirus and being at home and the quarantine gives them an opportunity to slow down. So not all people are experiencing a lot of pain around this. Some of them are experiencing peace. But then I ask myself, why? In meta-emotion coaching is, what is it in my environment or my relationships that is causing this emotion, right? And then what do I need? So I will do a journal entry every day of I feel about what I need. And that keeps me connected to my emotional state. It keeps me connected to my needs. It helps me take away blame and empowers me to really meet my needs, or to request to have my needs met by my partner, by my kids, by my family, and in whatever way. The same thing goes for your kids. We can coach our children and go to them when they're freaking out or having a moment. Redirection is super important. When your kids are acting out, they're trying to communicate things that they don't know how to communicate, right? So redirection is so healthy, like sending them to their room. And for my child, I have to send them into the shower, and sometimes that's 3 or 4 times a day, because hot water helps reduce and relax the pressure. This is why timeouts work. So there's multiple ways to redirect. And when our children or ourselves are overwhelmed and we're acting out, this is something called flooding. And many of us have heard about the fight or flight. That's what I mean when I say flooding. When we are overwhelmed, our body's heart rate escalates. We then surge with stress hormones of cortisol and adrenaline, and we stop really being able to retain information and also to practice empathy. And so when your kid is acting out or you're acting out and somebody's trying to talk to you and you're just like, ugh, I can't hear it, like you really can't. So redirection for yourself, for your children, is really gonna help reduce that stress response that's happening in the body. When we are calm, then we can retain information and we can think about our behaviors, and we can reflect on what we would do differently. So when my child has calmed down, I can say, it sounds like you were really upset. It looked like you were really feeling like angry and unheard. Is that right? So I'll try to help label that emotion to teach him, because he's a teenager, so he has lots of them. And I also have a 4-year-old, so pray for me. And then, I'll try to walk him through what I think that was about. Like, your sister got into your stuff. It really made you frustrated and upset. And then you felt unsupported by your dad and I, right? Right, validation and summary doesn't mean that I agree with the behavior. It doesn't mean that I think it's okay, but we hear better when we feel heard, right? So the goal is to soothe and to teach, because we don't want this to keep happening. We want to teach our children how to navigate emotions and issues better and more effectively. Okay, and so I've labeled the emotion. I have summarized and validated what it was about, and now I'm talking about, what do you think we could have done differently, right? When I'm frustrated and I'm upset, one of the things that I do is, go in my room and take a couple of deep breaths. That's why I had you go take a hot shower, or I sent you to your room because I wanted you to breathe and think about it, right? So if you need that space, you can take it. You can also come and talk to somebody like mom or dad, and tell us what you're feeling. But I know this is an overwhelming time. So you want to be able to articulate the emotion, identify that you understand what it's from, and then provide some sort of reframe for how things could be navigated differently next time. Help them understand their needs. And this is going to be a process that you're going to have to do constantly as they grow, as you grow. But oftentimes as adults, what I found is that our parents didn't teach us that. We were taught, like, if you were sad, you walk away and you deal with it yourself. Or if you were angry, you lashed out, right? So we have to learn to deal with our own emotional state, to recognize our feelings and our needs so that we can effectively teach that to our kids. Last but not least, I want to leave you with self-care. Self-care are the things that we ritualistically do to connect with and love ourselves. My self-care plan, every day I pick 3 things that I do, and I do them consistently. If you can hear that, consistency is key, right? Self-care is about discipline and consistency. Every day I do some sort of workout for 20 minutes. I meditate for 10 minutes, and I journal. That's my specific self-care plan. There's a lot of other things involved in that, but those are the 3 things that I do every day to stay on top of my self-care and my self-love, even if I don't feel like it. And trust me, most days I don't feel like it. And then there's self-soothing, right? Self-soothing is the things that we do when we are flooded, we are upset, we are overwhelmed, right? And so those for me are turning off, my cell phone, getting some chamomile tea, and going to a quiet place and lighting a candle. Now, I can't always do that, but I have to know what I need, and I have to be able to express that and share that with my partner and my family prior to needing it. So I'll oftentimes have families and couples develop self-care plans and self-soothing plans. So 3 things each. And so that way, and post it up on the refrigerator, and that way you're doing it when you're not upset, and your family can help you if they see you struggling to redirect to those activities that you already identified that would help you, right? So sometimes, when I'm really overwhelmed, my husband just makes me some chamomile tea and he sets it in front of me and he's like, goodbye. So, you're gonna have to navigate it differently. These are just some tools and tips. I know that we are all gonna get through this. We are going to be ahead of this sooner rather than later. So these are just some tips to help you manage the anxiety and the extra pressure that is on all of us right now. If there's anything you need, I want you to know that you can connect with me on Instagram. I'm the Sonya Jensen. You can also look me up on the web, sonyajensen.com, and on Facebook, I am Rebel Coach SJ. I look forward to connecting with you all, and best of luck as we maneuver around this time.